So we'll now go ahead and move on. There are no requested presentations, so we'll go ahead and move into our action items for the evening. I'd like to point out, Commissioners, we are 29 minutes ahead of schedule. And audience, I'm sure that also makes you happy. So the first item is item number 10, which is reimbursement requests, and I believe Commissioner Shropshire is going to introduce that.
So we have put in a reimbursement policy, and we also have a reimbursement forms that the commissioners can submit in order to get reimbursement for expenses that they spent in their ANC, in their single member district. And I have a few of them that I'll go over, and we have to present these, and then we have to vote with the quorum present in favor and opposition for reimbursement for the amendment. And at which point the ANC commissioner can get a reimbursement up to, it takes about 7 to 10 days to get their check. So the first one that I'm going to present is one that I received from Commissioner Blacknell, and this is for a black inkjet cartridge printer reimbursement, and it's for $48.96.
Is that in the package you gave us?
I'm sorry, no.
I just passed out mine.
That's the first one. The second one is,
Are we voting individually, or it would make sense to do them individually? Because some might be denied.
We're voting on what? Where's the receipt? Where's the copy of the receipt?
original receipt
is right here.
You can pass it.
Pass it down.
So is there a motion on the floor?
It says your order of June 15, 2015.
Yes, it's for our entire 2 years that we've been here. There is no limitation on the time frame. She never was reimbursed for her expenses that she spent on this. If you remember, our account was frozen the entire year of 2015, and since then we have been, that freeze has been lifted, and we are accepting reimbursement forms that people want to submit for reimbursement. So that's Commissioner Blacknell's receipt for her inkjet cartridge printer that she would like to get reimbursed.
I would like to put a motion on the table so I can get reimbursed for my ink cartridge, please.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Commissioner.
Discussion.
I raised my hand first. Okay. Go ahead. I have no issues with reimbursing the inkjet cartridge. However, with the account having been frozen, are we allowed to reimburse for that time period? That's my only concern.
I consulted Gottlieb, and he said yes.
Any other discussion?
Yes. My concern is it's a process concern. These matters need to be very transparent for the public. I know that when I was chairperson and we had a treasurer, we had actual reports that people could actually see. We had copies of receipts. We didn't just vote in meetings to reimburse people based on
Here we go.
invoices that were over a year old.
Here we go.
You know, there was a systematic process, and I think that we should continue to have a systematic process that includes copious amounts of documentation that can be filed, reviewed, and reviewed again if necessary. And this process seems haphazard. We've had the same treasurer since January of 2016. There really isn't a legitimate reason as to why we are entertaining expenditures for June of 2015. I raised some issues. Thankfully, the DC Auditor's Office did take those issues under consideration. They froze the account, you know, and it forced this commission to behave in a manner that was consistent with the transparent manner that we conducted business when we started. So this process of passing down a receipt, no copy, no documentation, I can't support that, and I would encourage the public to equally raise questions about this process that doesn't seem to be appropriate.
There's
Any
an
others?
actual,
Commissioners? Anyone?
I have something to say. So we, actually voted, we drafted and also voted on a process that is well, is written out, it's on our website. There is a reimbursement process that's on site along with the form, and at any point in time, any commissioner can submit that. And the process entails submitting it 7 days prior to the ANC commission meeting, and at which point we present it, and the commission can make take a vote on it, and that we can decide whether it's gonna get paid or not.
Discussion? I mean, it seems like a little cloistered discussion that happened in private, when the commission can't even engender enough civility to inform all of its members of the process. I mean, you have to question the legitimacy of that process. And I think it would have spoken better of our treasurer and this commission if the process had been emailed to commissioners, explained, documented, as opposed to, oh, you can go to our website. That's just not how you should be doing business, and I can't support that.
Actually received a hard copy.
I received no such thing.
So commissioners, I'm just, as a point of information, and I'll get Commissioner Lewis, so I'm gonna reference the standing rule 5D2 reimbursement policy that this commission drafted, discussed, and voted on by a vote of 5-0-0, meaning it was, everyone that was here voted for it, was adopted on June 29th, 2016. Commissioner Anderson, I would like my copy back, but that you can reference that for any other questions.
June 29th wasn't, it seems like that was a special meeting, it wasn't
Yeah,
even a
it
proper,
was.
it wasn't even a properly called special meeting, so no.
Always
Cause
something.
I wasn't there.
Always something there.
I do have to agree with Commissioner Henderson on what she stated, because for the past 2 years, if I've held a meeting, I've provided my own flyers, I've used my own funds to do everything because our accounts were frozen, and I wasn't aware of the process of getting reimbursed. So I do agree that we need to be more transparent with the process, and everyone doesn't go to the internet to learn about commission business. I honestly have not visited our site because I expect to hear about these things at meetings, not to go to a website.
See.
Discussion, any further discussion from commissioners? Commissioner Shropshire, how many of these reimbursement requests are there tonight?
There are 4 or 5.
So commissioners, I might suggest, it sounds like there's further discussion that's needed here, I might suggest that we proceed to the other items on the agenda and come back to this.
I agree.
If folks are, unless there's any objections to that. I see lots of committee folks would like the presentations heard, so.
I would take it a step further, and say that we table this matter, until, because there's just no transparency here. And I'm not voting on anything where it's just raised at the last minute at a meeting with no
Thank
proper
you.
documentation. I'm not
Thank you,
doing
Commissioner.
it.
So we're gonna table this item for now, we'll come back to it before the end of the meeting.
Not doing it.
Next item, where did my agenda went? Thank you. Next item is item number 11, thank you Commissioner Lewis, is the Placid Atlas. So this is my item, again, this is regarding a public space application from Kettler, and I see them getting their presentations ready. So while they're getting their boards ready, I'll just briefly set this up so that you all have the time to do that. But again, this is a space, it's a public space application for some improvements to the exterior of the building. Just as context, because this is a public space application, this is not a PUD application, this is not a BZA application, which is what most of the time what the commission has seen. So they may talk about the interior of the building, but that's actually not what is sort of within the ANC's purview at this point. So hopefully I've given us enough time. As context, we had about 30 folks in attendance at the SMD meeting on this topic about 2 weeks ago, and the room, I believe, was unanimously in support. We did make some, collectively, we made some improvements to their original proposal, and hopefully Tommy can talk about what those improvements were that they've committed to already as a result of that SMD meeting. So with that, I'm going to start talking. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Okay, good evening. Thank you all for having us tonight. I'm Tommy Mann. I'm with Kettler. Kettler, for those of you who don't know, we're locally based in the Washington DC area. We've developed thousands of residential units in the region. We manage tens of thousands of apartments up and down the East Coast. We purchased the Placid Atlas at 1600 Maryland Avenue earlier this year, and some of you may know that when Placid Atlas was originally designed and built, there was a second phase in the adjacent land parcel at 1676 Maryland Avenue that had always been contemplated. And so now we've started to think about that second phase. The image all the way on my right is a conceptual rendering of what a second phase might look like, but really what we've been focused on right now are improvements along the right-of-way surrounding the property in the public space. And we've recently filed plans with DDOT for public space improvements in order to primarily complete the block in an effort to facilitate redevelopment of the property, but also to enhance the streetscape, the landscape, and the lighting all around the property. And so I'll turn it over to Trini Rodriguez, our landscape architect, to talk for a moment about the plan.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Trini Rodriguez, we're landscape architects, and we can help with the team on creating the streetscape. Just as Tony mentioned, I think what's important about this new phase is about completing the block. We're here to talk to you about basically the public space and the streetscape along the three edges. So as you can see here, what this project is actually going to do is consolidate and close all of the curb cuts that are currently existing across the site. Those will be closed, and basically a continuous streetscape will run across the entire frontage of the property. The existing entrance that's there, it's been consolidated into a narrower entrance, and that will provide access to the sort of arrival port, which actually will serve the two buildings. Phase one, the main entrance is here. This new phase, the main entrance, will be located here, and we're basically allowing for that sort of drop off and arrival port. This also serves the garage. What, I'll be brief, but basically what we're doing is continuing the streetscape, which is very much follows the standard of the city with a tree pit, a continuous sidewalk of 9 feet, and then a large green area in front of the building, especially along Maryland Avenue, which has been planted, and we're providing for layering of trees, as you can see. And this is very much done in the fashion that is done on the large avenues in the city. Along 17th Street, currently there is a very small sidewalk, so we're actually providing tree planting, streetscape, and buffering. And that's the same case with K Street. Continuing the existing sidewalk that is present on the first phase, extending that across. This building has a secondary entrance of the corner of 17th and K, which help activate that. And again, the layering of planting. Lastly, just you can see in the interior, these are really conceptual, but these buildings are providing some interior amenities for the residents. And just very briefly, at our previous meeting, there were just some comments from neighbors, and those have been incorporated to show clearly the location of lights. That's one thing that I think is important in our neighborhoods, is to have sufficient light for safety, and safety was something that was raised. There are, additional connections which are mostly emergency exits, and then we have located trash cans along the building perimeter, and also waste places for pickup for dog waste. So that we've incorporated pretty much the comments that have been
We also have
voiced.
seating right here.
And
near
there's
the
some
entry.
seating, especially along the entrance. I think with that, we'll
Thank
follow
you.
the questions.
And just as the maker of the motion, I am going to move that we support the public space application as you've submitted it, with the request that we made in a meeting, which included the dog waste and additional benches that were public space. Just thank you for doing that, but also important to emphasize that that is, I think, different from phase one, where those are, because they're in public space, they are